Good morning, everyone. My name is Edar White. I'm an independent news analyst. My specialty is and am author of the Conspiracy Book series, which speaks of many evils that are happening within America right now. One regarding land fraud contracts, another one regarding the banking failure fraud, and also the terrorism, which seems to be appearing more and more all over the world, multiplying exponentially each year. I did watch the events live at terrorist Bataclan. I did watch the events that happened with San Bernardino. I would like to make a basic analysis of those so that you understand my position on what's happening today on the Manhattan bomb event. The events which happened in San Bernardino were not true terrorism, true terrorists, as one would call it. Those events, however, were used to push anti-gun and anti-ammunition agendas, which were signed into law unbeknownst to the entire population by President Obama, by the governor of California, and in measures across the country which we may not even be aware of yet. The individual did a very, very terrible thing in San Bernardino, killing persons, but we believe that he was basically a disgruntled employee and an awful person within his own heart that would do something like that. He went to Saudi Arabia, that's true, but he went there for the purpose of trying to acquire a bride, dangling the carrot in front of her of American citizenship and other ridiculous promises. She came on the plane back with him and did not ever marry him, had a child with him, and the child was about 2 years old at the time of the incident. A true person of the Al-Qaeda organization would never, ever, ever have allowed that woman to have gotten on the plane with an Arabic man and not be married to him. They would have been immediately killed upon exiting the aircraft. But to have a child born and 2 years later and still not married proves that he was just holding over her the constant carrot of getting citizenship if she stayed with him long enough. They were not on one single phone call from the FBI, and Obama several times threw the FBI under the bus, stating that, well, the FBI is pretty good most of the time, but they miss people now and then. And that's just simply not possible, because people of any culture, when they're in an isolated and minority number in another country, will gravitate toward other individuals from the same country, regardless of their affiliation politically, religiously, familially, or being of a terrorist organization. And none of the individuals that either I had studied or anyone in the FBI had studied, apparently, had ever even had one phone call, one contact with this man. So he definitely was not a part of that organization, but it did suit the administration's agenda to push that it was a terrorist event. Anything that can be done to scare the entire population and pacify them and turn them into sheep to accept the coming events is the intention of using any event for the effect of terrorism. And if you remember, in the old days, not so far back, if something happened on the streets, the police would come and calm everybody down and try to avoid a panic and get everybody to move away in an orderly fashion and say, no, the event is over there, everything's okay now, time to go back to what you were doing, go back home. And they would calm people. The fact that you have a bombing in Manhattan, which is a pressure cooker in a dumpster, really? Obviously, the intent was pure terror only. It was not in a strategic location. It was not in an area that was occupied by people. It was near to a restaurant where people could see the event and talk about the event. And the police immediately ran up and down the streets screaming at people to get off the street and go home. Well, why? Aren't we still a free country? If this had been just a normal, regular event, people would have been calmed down. They would have even cleaned up the evidence discreetly without telling anybody anything. the fact that there were so many photos and media attention, which we know the administration only allows the media to cover things which correspond with their agenda, and the fact that it was a pressure cooker bomb, which is absolutely ridiculous, and it's just kind of throwing in the American people's face that this is a fake terror event that was used during the bombing at the Boston Marathon, which has come under thousands of videotapes and interviews from people who insist that that was a planned terror event, not the same as this one just to inflict terror, but that the Boston one was done more of as a test to see how people would respond, how authorities would respond, how the entire event would transpire. When you have a couple of isolated terror events before you have a huge string all over, then you know that that's a test. And so what happened with Boston in the get off my computer and stay off it.